Hey, people, what's going on? Cosmonarchy developer here, Chronogo, bringing you Cosmonarchy matches from a tournament. And I hope you guys are excited about that, because I sure am. We also have a new face here, which is always going to be an interesting thing for me to take a look at. So here we have Zevey, or Zevey? I'm going to say Zevey, who is in the top right, and they are going to be our Platinum Purple? Yeah, Platinum Purple Protoss. Bottom left, we have ArbuzBudesh, who is going to be our turquoise Zerg, and Frosted Forest was Arbuz's map pick here. This is Weekend Wage. This is a bi-weekly tournament. Every other week we do this, and maybe eventually we'll do it every week, but we'll see how availability and, of course, the availability of funds is allowed. We'll see. We'll see about that one as time goes on. If you guys want to support projects like this, if you guys want to support tournaments like this, you can go to streamlabs.com/Chronogo and donate. You'll see that that little bar on the right-hand side fill up over time, in different videos. So that's the progress bar there. That'll all be towards show matches and other tournament competitions and stuff. So always appreciate donations for prize pools and stuff like that. And as we get closer and closer to filling up that bar and then the subsequent bar, we can actually start thinking about scheduling more show matches in general. So I hope you guys are excited about that prospect. All right, enough shilling. ArbuzBudesh is going to be going for a pool opener, which is very exciting because typically we see Zergs go Hydra. But I think Zeke also goes pool versus Protoss, so it'll be interesting to see whether Zevey is prepared for this sort of thing. As far as I understand, Zevey is a player who's happy to get some good gaming in. They've been doing a lot of gaming, as far as I know. And they're going to be going for an Ecclesiast first. That's interesting. So I think, we've got that and the Grand Library coming. So it's interesting that it's going to be a fast Grand Library build. The Scribe going to be continuously annoying, which is very good. I'm glad to see that. This is beautiful. You find a little nook here to slot yourself into, and you just annoy Arbuz. Just annoy him. So the first Zethar Core is going to be shown and kind of chase the Scribe away. Every other Zethar Core is going to be dispatched, all 7 of them, moving directly towards Zevey's base. And an Ecclesiast is fine, all well and good. Oh no, he's stuck, the body block. Oh, wow. Got him. Devastated. Annihilated. Second Larvosk as well, so clearly a larva-heavy opener here for Arbuz. He's not going to be planning on going for a hatch anytime soon with the natural. And let's see. I mean, we're going to have 2 Ecclesiasts. If he pockets it inside the mineral line, he should actually be fine. No, that Ecclesiast is not going to be so fine. All right, let's see what Zevey can do. Let's see the worker response to crisis management here. Oh, no workers going down. Whoa, look at that. The Ecclesiast staying alive and everything. Is he going to get a single worker? The answer is no, but some worker disruption mined there. Okay, all right, some harvesting disruption. We'll see what Zevey wants to do next up then. Second Grand Library on the way. We got to have Amaranths come out here pretty soon, yeah. And it looks like there's planning on a hatch because, Zevey gets scouted there fully and sees like 2 Ecclesiasts in there and 2 Grand Libraries. So Arbuz is going to assume that it's going to be some time before counterattack can happen. But honestly, this walkout with 3 units, it can deal with all of these Zethar Cores depending on the engagement. So I'm interested to see the micro. We're going to see the micro here in just a moment. The easy surround here onto the Ecclesiasts, and one of them goes down immediately. Zevey's in a lot of trouble all of a sudden and is going to need to abandon this position. Maybe do a little bit of stutter stepping here. Try to find a nice little position to be in. That Ecclesiast going down. Well, Zevey's going to have some backup in the form of additional Amaranths, and now, Arbuz knows, okay, I can't deal with that. Even if there were no Ecclesiasts there, the Zethar Cores would die horrible deaths. Well, hold on. They are going to go after that Ecclesiast. Yeah, really good bobbing and weaving there. Nice moves from Zevey. I think Zevey's played against Arbuz a few times already, so they might have some understanding of their own capacity, their own capabilities. Next is going to be put down here at the natural, and not a bad time for it. Obviously, it's been a little bit of an awkward game, but no worker deaths earlier from the worker raid by the 7 Zeths, and now, just slicing and dicing through everything that you have to offer. A Zealot here to add a little bit extra DPS. Amaranth's obviously going to be just fine about this. And this is a bit of a burrow trap from Zevey's opponent. We'll see if ArbuzBudesh can actually use the Quasilisks to his advantage. Picks off the Shield Restorer, the Ecclesiast, immediately. And those Amaranths, they're being whittled down bit by bit. Remember that the Zealot also loses armor when its shields are down, so it loses 1 armor and becomes a lot more easier to target by the Quasilisks at that point. But, oh my god, there's so many pool units to carve through here. Another Ecclesiast has arrived to try to restore shields in the meantime, and that's going to allow these Amaranth to get a lot more value, as well as, of course, that one Zealot to keep its armor. One Amaranth has fallen. I repeat, one Amaranth has fallen. Behind this, we have another gateway. We have a Cantavis on the way in the production tab, and we've got a spackle of different units here. The Vornath Pond is done, and we have Nathrakors on the way. I wonder what Arbuz plans on for that. Is it going to be a Calcure Lake? Let's find out. Looks like a little bit of an overtransfer on the minerals there by Zevey, but going to drop a Matrix into the mineral line immediately at the natural, which is good play, actually. Good installation. And look at this. Charging in, trying to get what they can. I mean, once the circuits are up, this attack becomes a lot harder to pull off. And so Zevey just trying to whittle down that pool stuff is pretty good. Nice moves there from her. We're waiting on the tech development of Arbuz, but right now he's just making a lot of Nathrakors. This feels Art of Turtle coded. He's got so many of them, in fact. Maybe this reminds me of what Indy did, what Indy went up against during the Mixu show match, where all of a sudden people were trying to experiment with like clouds of Naths again because Mixu would find so much value. Now, if the Cantavis doesn't get right-clicked, the Matrix will be in a lot of trouble. And then the Cantavis can just kind of storm it, and all of a sudden it'll be fine. But Arbuz doesn't need to worry too much about that. He can just just walking in and right-click in the anti-air. Going after the Cantavis, of course. No spells cast from that guy. Zevey might be wondering what to do about this situation. Atreus on the way. He's got... Oh, there's no anti-air over here. Well, immediately evacuate towards the one Matrix, and now the ground army is going to be dispatched. It's a scary-ish ground army, but remember that those two circuits are going to make it a lot less powerful. And all of a sudden, I feel like we're seeing writing on the wall. That Matrix will not stay alive, and no additional anti-air is being made. When's the Atreus coming? It was actually canceled in favor of a Cantavis. Oh, this is so heartbreaking. And all of a sudden, Zevey is in a lot of trouble. Let's see if there's going to be a last hurrah. Atros finishing 2 more circuits in the making. Those Kagrins will be turned into them. Slowly but surely. Yeah, there's so much Zerg here back at home. We have the Drakadon being eliminated by the Nathrakors, and only now is the Calcure Lake even coming. Still, perhaps a surprising amount of dead Zerg filling the chamber here. But 4 circuits, you're not going to break through that. Maybe 2 if you had enough Ecclesiasts, but GG is going to be called back at home. The last Drakadon is not going to be able to deal with 11 of those Naths, and that is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. First game for Zevey, a bit of a heartbreaker. We do have one more game that I know that they played in, and maybe more if they made it through the lower bracket. So we're going to go ahead and check that out and see what their next opponent is like, so don't go anywhere. Because here we are on Crisis Vector, and it's going to be NICOLAS going up against Zevey now. So this is going to be a bit of a Terran versus Protoss matchup. I hope you guys are excited about that one. I have a lot of, I have a lot of experience watching new players, and the micro that Zevey was putting out there, very cool. I think she's going to be doing fine the longer the game goes on, the longer they spend with the game. Like, I could see them having a lot of success. I can see her having a lot of success when it comes to that little mid-game transition point when you're talking about getting out of your early game tech and into your mid-game tech. Maybe 1 gate 2 Grand Library was just a little bit too cost inefficient, slow to arm. Or, maybe it's just down to like making sure you have a little bit of anti-air presence there. Not so many Zergs are doing the Nathrakor Cloud. So that's really interesting moves from Arbuz, to be honest. I wonder if that's like a highly targeted thing. Like, yeah, Zevey hasn't seen this, so she's going to be caught with her pants down, so to speak, in response to this move. Something like that. Anyway, we do have NICOLAS up here making some Masons, and there's a Fulcrum on the way. So we have seen NICOLAS TVP already. He did defeat Sausage, which was surprising to me, but maybe it shouldn't be because NICOLAS is honestly pretty damn good at the game. He just so rarely shows up for a tournament. So this is a double treat. New player in Zevey, and NICOLAS gets some games, shown up. He's XD Man, Pingo Collator. If you guys know these names, then you know NICOLAS. He's been around for a good while now, but he's just he's a pretty hardcore gamer. He once showed up into an Ascension match, I believe it was, a tournament. He made it to playoffs for Ascension back in the day, and he almost beat Shambler in one of the matches that Shambler went for a 6-spool on. And like he held everything. It was so good to see, like, not getting flustered. And that was one of his first games in here. So, man, listen, kid's got some talent, okay? zevey going to be going for 2-gate into Grand Library here, so a little bit of a different opener than we saw versus Arbuz. Arbuz is a tough opponent to take. Arbuz regularly gets top 4s in these sorts of events, so this maybe is a bit more even spread in terms of like what you would expect. Like, these two players are pretty close in terms of tournament seeding, though I will say I did underrate NICOLAS' seeding a little bit just because I haven't seen NICOLAS play. I deliberately said, NICOLAS would probably be rated higher than, say, Sausage, but I don't know how good NICOLAS is playing or how frequently NICOLAS has been playing. Has NICOLAS been grinding or whatever? And it was only a best of 1, so I can't even necessarily strongly say that NICOLAS is like the better player than Sausage. I could see NICOLAS' ceiling being higher though, so that's sort of what I was thinking of. All right. We got the Vultures, we got the Goliath. This is the same move out that NICOLAS did versus Sausage, I think. Not saving a lot of mines, actually, huh? So not a lot of offensive mines are available here. He's going to need to rely on the follow-up Vultures for after that. And we got 3 Dracodons and a Hierophant. This feels like a much better build, a much better army composition for zevey to have into what NICOLAS is doing. The Legionnaires were not very effective. However, you can still get Doven on by the Vulture count. So that's really like the scary part, right? NICOLAS also thinking of an expansion behind it. This is such a funny, interesting looking build. Shopkeeper Dog wanted to steal Hanmano's like three ministry build that he did versus, I think it was AOT. And, it's interesting to see that in action. We'll see if there's much to be done here. The Goliath staying alive for just about ever and survives 2 different Striders before going down. And now, there's not that much left for zevey. Get that Zealot, lady. Come on. All right, the Atreus is out as well. I don't know if this is going to be quite enough. The Dracodon does a fadeaway shot here. There's so many Vultures, man. All right, we got more Striders coming out, but okay, there's actually not that many that are close to being done. The Zealot falls. That's going to be one of the main sort of tanks in this position, and now the Scribes need to get activated. The Scribes need to activate the Nebline Protocol. Get the Scribes going. Oh, boy. It's not looking too hot. That bought a little bit of time, but now the Scribes are just going to get absolutely massacred here. Where's the wounded one? Off to the front over here. Could get picked off by some of those Scribes, but so much worker damage is being dealt. Down to below single-digit workers at this stage of the game is almost always a death knell. And the preemptive mine, NICOLAS's IQ is off the charts. See you later. And that is it. Damn. All right, well, a bit of a brutal, run through the gauntlet, tribulations, trial by fire for zevey, but I hope to see her in more tournaments later on and continuing to play the games out because I think there's something there with the micro in the Arbuz match, and I guess it turned into more of a NICOLAS profile at the end there, where can this Vulture Goliath build ever be defeated? So that's pretty surprising. That's pretty impressive. We'll see if, I guess we'll have to follow NICOLAS's run through the matches later on as well. But hope you guys enjoyed and appreciated the way that these games were going. I will catch you guys for more Weekend Wage coverage and Cosmonarchy matches later on the channel. GG's.